Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. Our teacher for this week is Swami Vivekananda. And I do have some profoundly beautiful thoughts from him to share with you today. Right, let's get started. Let's get into today's message. Have you ever wondered how we can create a world in which people judge and criticize each other less? How do we move closer to a world in which we all allow one another to be human? Danae, good morning. Sunmary, good morning. Anthony, good morning. Hello. Awesome seeing you here. I'll ask that question again. How do we move closer to a world in which we all allow one another to be human? That is a tall order, right? But could we at least see some kind of a starting point? How would we start taking a step in the right direction? Swami Vivekananda has some great advice for us on that first step. We start by each taking a good look at ourselves and learning to love the human in the mirror a little more every day. Grania, good morning. Linda, good morning. Welcome to this Wednesday morning. We are in the halfway point of the week. The first thought from Swami Vivekananda says, if I love myself despite my infinite faults, how can I hate anyone at the glimpse of a few faults? Tracy, good morning. Happy Wednesday. If I love myself despite my infinite faults, how can I hate anyone else at the glimpse of a few faults? Celine, good morning. Happy Wednesday morning to you. The sad truth is that for the most part, we are all taught the following lesson. No, you're not allowed to just be human. We all hold too much shame, guilt, and self-judgment over every little thing that we've ever done wrong. And it's only when we can look at our own shortcomings with kindness that we're able to allow the people around us to also just be human. So how do we create a kinder inner narrative? How do we look upon ourselves with kindness, especially since we're all so flawed? Swami Vivekananda says, talk to yourself at least once in a day. He makes this very practical. Talk to yourself at least once in a day. Otherwise, you might miss a meeting with an excellent person in this world. I'll repeat that again. I love these words. Talk to yourself at least once in a day. Otherwise, you may miss a meeting with an excellent person in this world. I really love the self-kindness that emanates from the way he describes how we should cherish every interaction that we have with ourselves. This advice is really quite practical too. This is literally what I do with clients every day. Does it sound strange to deliberately talk to yourself? Here's a question for you. In the moments when your inner critic is very loud, how do you talk to yourself? It tends to be true that talking to ourselves harshly comes quite naturally, yet it seems weird to deliberately talk to ourselves in a positive way. When we don't consciously create an empowering inner narrative, then we are left with only the wounded inner voices that we took on board in childhood. The truth is, creating a kinder inner narrative takes practice. We've all spent years, perhaps even decades, accumulating those old critical voices. And just like any other skill, it takes conscious effort and repetition to create and reinforce a new supportive inner narrative. This is our journey today, is inviting the old, harsh inner voices, inviting those inner children to come and sit with us so we can listen to them, learn to understand them, and learn to create a space in which we have the capacity to speak to ourselves more kindly. If you're ready, you can close your eyes and we'll float away together. starting with the first few big breaths. Here we go. Take a deep breath in and out. Take a deep breath in and out. A deep inhale and let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in and let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. As you breathe in, stretch out your spine, lift the top of your head toward the ceiling. And once you've reached your full height, let all of it go. With every exhale, soften. With every breath out, soften your spine, slump down your shoulders, and drop your head. We are inviting our inner children to come and sit with us today. The image that I always see in my mind is something like a first grade teacher sitting on the carpet for story time and inviting the kids to come and sit on the carpet with her. Invite these inner children to come and breathe with you. The examples that I'll use today, and I want to remind you that you can use your own examples. Perhaps what comes to your mind is what you are specifically dealing with right now. But the examples I'll use today are a part of you that feels hurt, a part of you that feels injured, wounded by things that happened in the past. The hurt part of you. And then another example for today is the inner critic, that part of you that speaks to you so harshly. That is also an inner child that we're inviting to sit with us. And then a part of you that feels scared. The scared part of you that looks at the future and is afraid. while you ask these three inner children to sit and breathe along with you, see if you can form an idea of what they look like. What does each of these inner children look like? I might say this again. It's not important that you get a clear image of what they look like. We don't always get that clear an image. But it's very helpful to open yourself to the possibility. Open yourself to the idea of seeing what they look like. A part of you that feels hurt by things that have happened. The inner critic, the part of you that speaks to you really harshly. And then that scared part of you that sometimes looks at the future and feels really afraid. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, helping our bodies stretch and adjust and settle down into as much comfort as possible for the rest of our journey. And we are inviting these inner children to stretch out along with us. Let's take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward. And roll out your neck muscles going forward and to the left. And forward and to the right. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big, slow circles. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, focus on your spine. See if you can tilt your head towards the left while you tilt your hips towards the right, curving your spine into an S from your head down to your tailbone. And then change direction. Can you tilt your head to the right and tilt your hips to the left? One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened our bodies into a state of presence, or at least as much as we are able to do that today, we can now turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. With every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. If you don't have the time to sit for the whole meditation with us, then this is always a good place to stop. But if you are here for the whole journey, we'll take the next few big breaths together. Let's take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel into your body. Feel how softness slips in and settles in every part of your body. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, follow the downwards flow through your body. Feel your shoulders slowly falling. Feel your body slowly softening. And feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel yourself melting. Feel your whole body dissolving. Feel how you are slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow this journey. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath, but hold it only for as long as it feels easy, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, I remind you of the inner children that we are inviting to sit with us today. The example that I'm using today is a part of you that feels hurt, a part of you that may feel injured or wounded by things that have happened to you. And then the inner critic, the part of you that speaks to yourself really harshly. And then the scared part of you, the part of you that sometimes looks into the future and feels really afraid. These are the three inner children for our example today, and you may change them with whatever example you want to work with today. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, see if you're able to form an image of what these three inner children look like. It's okay if you don't get an image, we don't always do. But open yourself to the possibility of seeing each of these three inner children clearly. Take your next big breath. We want to let these inner children know that today we are here to listen. We would like to hear what it is they have to say, because we'd like to get better at understanding them and why they exist within us. We're turning first towards the hurt part of you that might feel wounded or injured by things that have happened in your life. As you take your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, we are asking this hurt part to speak. Remind us of what it is it says. When you feel hurt, we could also call this part a victim, when we feel like a victim. What are the words we say to ourselves? How do we talk to ourselves when we feel hurt? It's likely that whatever it is we say to ourselves in those moments are on repeat. Every time we feel like a victim, we tend to say the same things again. We tend to feel the same way again. Remind yourself of how it is you talk to yourself, the thoughts you think when you feel hurt. And just listen. Take your next big breath. I want you to turn towards this hurt part. I want you to speak to it directly and ask it a question. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, turning towards the hurt part, say, In those moments when you feel hurt, when you feel that life has injured you, in those moments, what is it that you are afraid will happen? Please tell me what it is that you are afraid will happen. Can you ask the question and then just sit back and listen for an answer? Don't try and think of an answer. Let the hurt part speak. What is it that you're afraid will happen? Take your next big breath. We want to thank this hurt part for showing up, for being present, for being seen and heard. We know it takes a lot of courage. We turn our attention now to the inner critic, the part of you that speaks to you harshly, the part of you that makes inner accusations, a part of ourselves we often feel at war with. Today we are here to listen. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, invite the inner critic to speak. Remind yourself of what are all the things, the judgments, the accusations that your harsh inner critic hurls at you. And for this moment, just listen. Be reminded of how it speaks and notice how it's on repeat. It is a recording that plays again and again and again. There's hardly anything new there ever. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, let the inner critic speak. Take your next big breath. And now I want you to turn towards this inner critic directly. Speak to this inner critic and ask it a question. And after asking the question, just sit back and listen. You don't have to think of an answer. It has a clear answer. Perhaps you don't hear it today, but I promise you it's there. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask this inner critic, in those moments where you judge me and criticize me, you were trying to prevent something bad from happening. What is it you're trying to prevent? What is the bad thing that you're trying to stop? What are you trying to prevent from happening? Take your next big breath. We thank the inner critic for showing up, for being seen, for being heard. And then we turn our attention towards the scared part. The part of us that sometimes feels afraid, especially when we look at the future. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, we're asking the scared part to speak. Remind yourself of the narrative on repeat when you feel scared. What are the words you keep saying over and over to yourself when you feel fearful? Take your next big breath. And then turn towards the scared part and speak to it directly. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask the scared part of you, in those moments when you feel afraid, what is your deep desire for me? What is it that you would like to happen for us? Take your next big breath. Take a moment to thank the scared part for showing up, for being present, for being seen, for being heard. We know that it's a really brave thing to do. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, and we're asking these inner children to take these breaths with us. Ask them to be wherever it is they want to be. Would they like to sit next to you? Would they like to sit on top of you? Would they like to crawl inside of you? Wherever it feels comfortable. Let's take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. as you release, feel how softness slips in and settles in every part of your body. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back and even lie all the way back down and feel yourself just floating. I want to remind you of just how practical this exercise is. Our conversation today was with these three inner children: the hurt part, the inner critic, and the scared part. What happens in the moment that you're able to listen? When you can listen to the hurt part speak, when you can listen to the inner critic speak, when you can listen to the scared part speak. In the moment that you can sit back and listen, you are not being the hurt part. You're not being the inner critic. You're not being the scared part. Listening takes you a step further away. And with a step further away while you're listening, you might get some insight, some understanding. You might understand how these voices that speak within us, these parts that live within us, these parts of our personality, how they really are only trying to protect you, to help. What the biggest wish of the hurt part is for you, what it really wants for you, how it wants it to be different. What bad thing the inner critic is trying to avoid, trying to help you not get into trouble. What the scared part wish is for you, what exactly it is that it wants to be different. Again, the most important part of this is, as you take a step back, you're not being those parts of you. So then who are you being? If you're not being the hurt part, if you're not being the inner critic, if you're not being the scared part, which part of you are you being? I do believe that there are many labels placed on this part of you. I think you could be stepping a bit closer to your soul, stepping into your higher self, stepping into higher wisdom, seeing through the eyes of your soul perhaps. But from this place, you can speak from wisdom too. How would you speak to the hurt part? How would you speak to the scared part? How would you speak to the inner critic? I want to read this one thought from Swami Vivekananda to you again. I love these words. He says, "Talk to yourself at least once in a day. Otherwise, you may miss a meeting with an excellent person in this world." Don't miss your daily meeting with an excellent person in this world. the better you get, taking a step back and just listening to the hurt parts of you speaking, the better you'll get at speaking back to them in wisdom. We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you, and I invite you to say yours. Let's take a deep breath in. Thank you for joining us and listening to what speaks within you. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for practicing stepping into the best part of you so that you can listen. Listen and just hold this space for hearing. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for doing your work to get better at speaking to yourself kindly. Speaking to yourself in wisdom. Take a deep breath in. And thank you for making the world a better place. Because as we all get better at seeing ourselves through kind eyes, so we get better at seeing the humans around us with kindness too. Thank you for making the world a better place. One more big breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for being on our journey with us today. Nella, good morning. Anne-Marie, good morning. Mari, good morning. Ilza, a very good morning. Thank you, Grania. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Danae. Thank you, Sunmari. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Serene. Thank you, Linda. Have a beautiful day. Let me read this one more time. I love these words. Talk to yourself at least once in a day. Otherwise, you may miss a meeting with an excellent person in this world. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Tracy. Have a beautiful day. Don't miss a meeting with an excellent person. Ciao, ciao.